good evening and long time no see. Welcome back to MysticHour, live podcast about all things mystical and nerdy right here on Proficiency Bonus. I'm your host, Kristy Mysticwater, and I talk to people about awesome D&D and nerdy stuff. And today we finally have the long-awaited part 2 of the Curse of Strahd cast. Unfortunately, we are missing one player in our DM down, but that's okay. We still have two that we're going to be interviewing. But before we get into that, I'm going to do a quick shout out to OBS Streamlabs for their awesome widgets and tools, and also to our sponsor, DiceBard.com. And if you enter the coupon code PROBO, PROBO, on checkout, you get free expedited shipping to anywhere in the world, and they're a really cool Vancouver-based dice company. They sell dice sets and D&D merchandise, so definitely go check them out. Thank you, DiceBard.com. And let's jump into it because it's been a while. Life was hard for a while for me, but we are back, and we are back with Para and Keplyn, and there they are. Say hi.
Hi guys.
Hello.
So we got 2 out of the remaining 3 Curse of Strahd cast. I know you guys are episode 8 or 7 now of Curse of Strahd? Where are you guys at sitting? Do you remember?
I have to check. I don't remember. It's been a while.
I don't remember.
I'm sorry. But we're here now, and that's all that matters. And so yeah. Thanks for jumping in, you guys. I'm sorry that we started late. We all I mostly woke up late. It's great. But we're going to start off with basics for the two of you. Let's start with the usual of when and how did you two start getting into D&D? And I'll start with Para.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
You can do it.
Maybe about half a year ago.
Okay.
My friend group started kind of formulating the idea that, hey, since we have a Discord, we can actually do D&D if we actually find some sheets and work at it. And guess we did a couple campaigns from there. One shot that turned into like very long campaign. Then I guess I got more into it when kind of Ink got into proficiency bonus. He says, hey, maybe you can look into this. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay. So were you playing before Ink started?
No. The only interactions I've had with D&D or something like it were my father actually would play some of the tabletop versions of the Star Trek kind of adventures.
Wow.
So he would show me some of the boards and like adventures that he had made. He would regale these tales to me, be like, whoa. So it was kind of, I don't know, it's fun.
What about you, Keplyn? When and how did you start playing D&D?
Well, for the longest time, I've been sort of like dancing around the idea of D&D. Like I would read Dragonlance books and not realizing that they were actually D&D because I love reading. I'd walk past people playing it in libraries and things like that. And then I was looking for something to watch on YouTube, and I think it was Dice Camera Action I came across, and I started watching that, which is Chris Perkins' game, and it's like, wait a second, I could play this. So I started looking around for a game on Roll20, and I came across the one for Tomb of Annihilation, and I applied and managed to get in. So that was my very first game. I also started another.
Tomb's your first?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I also started another like homebrew campaign around the same time, but I had to leave because of drama and things like that. But Tomb of Annihilation still my first, still going.
Into the drama and stuff after, and I just realized I just jumped right out. It's been a minute since I've done MysticHour, guys. You can tell I've got my shit on point right now. Why don't the two of you introduce yourselves and let us know how about like where you're from, and on top of where, like, how you guys started with D&D, I want to know, like, I think Keplyn already touched on this on finding proficiency bonus, but I want to know why you guys applied. So introduce yourselves.
Or you want to go there? Because I already...
Yeah,
Sure,
who
sure.
you are, where you're from, and why you applied.
I mean, I'll just say that my name's Para. I'm also from Canada, but I'm kind of like mainland. I'm from Alberta.
I mean,
Canada.
you're not that far from me. You're really not that far. I mean, it's still pretty far. Canada's fucking huge, but...
Yeah, exactly.
You're still like a good 13 hours away from me, but so...
What was the other question?
What made you, like, apply?
Oh, ink. No, he literally came to me in like a chat and he's like, hey, you should do this. You should actually really do this. I was like, no, I'm scared. They won't want me. And so he gave me the form. He's like, you should apply. And I kind of like procrastinated for about a week or so. He's like, hey, did you apply yet? And I was like, no, not yet. And so, I don't know, some cheering on later, he got me to actually apply. So, as much as I wish I could say that, yeah, I did it by myself, I'm just like a very anxious.
That's totally
so.
Fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. What about you, Keplyn? Did you just like actively search it out by yourself and just looked it up?
Pretty much. So yeah, I'm Keplyn. I live in Canada too. I live in Manitoba.
Canada! Oh my god!
Yeah.
Canada Street! Get wrecked, guys! I'm always the odd one out.
Yeah, so, well, all of my friends are from America, so, you know, I get it. But yeah, southern Manitoba. And I applied, well, on Roll20 because there isn't any D&D games around me. I'm living in a small town about an hour away from main city.
Oh, me too.
So I would have to drive like after work for an hour somewhere and play for 4 hours and then drive home like at 1 a.m. and that's, yeah. So I applied for a whole bunch of things on Roll20 and only a couple responded back, including the one for Tomb of Annihilation. So that's where I started.
That's cool. Sorry, I've just been told that my mic's been low this entire time. So, again, Kristy's on point tonight. Okay, so that's pretty cool. What made you guys want to join a live stream of all things? Like, D&D is one thing to dip your toes in and jump in, but why a live stream? Or was it mostly just, it was there? Well, yours is kind of like ink pressuring you, but like, had you considered doing it off stream first? Or was this something that you were more comfortable with?
I mean, the games that we did that weren't here on Roll20, part of proficiency bonus, were like on Discord with a bunch of my friends, so at least in that regard I was comfortable around like 5 or 6 people in a call, but I mean, they were my friends. They're my friends for years, but I also want to try and become a voice actor. So sooner or later, I have to get over that fear of, you know, like speaking, because that's like that's a thing that you kind of have to do. So
yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point. That's a good point for voice acting for sure.
So as much as it was Ink saying like do it, it was also like a good opportunity to get my confidence up and get some voices nailed down.
I love that. What about you, Keplyn?
Well, I was just gonna take whatever I got and I applied. Well, because, you know, not very many things on there at the time fit what I, like the times I had or anything like that. So it's like, well, if I get this, that's great. But it definitely freaked me out because I never played D&D before. it did help, actually, that at the time my internet was really slow, and so I wasn't able to have my video on.
Oh.
And then I moved and got faster internet, so
you kind of took the steps to build up your confidence to get to that point.
Yeah, and it was unintentional, but it happened, so.
What was the application process like for Strahd? Do you guys remember? Or is it just like you fill out the information and then was it an interview with Sarah?
Yeah, it was sort of for me, it was an impromptu, very quick interview. I had filled out the stuff, and then I get this message that, hey, she's up for interviews if you want to do that right now. And I was like, oh, I just literally woke up. And,
oh, right.
and I was like, all right, cool, I guess. So I just rolled out of bed and did the little interview after filling out the stuff. And yeah, somehow I'm here.
Oh.
I filled out a form for Curse of Strahd, but I didn't get an interview because Sarah asked me to play because she was still missing a person. So I just filled
and the two of you
form
were
out
already
for...
playing in Tomb anyway, so it's like you didn't really need to interview, audition, whatever.
And she was asking for applications, but I didn't want to apply because I didn't want to take up a spot because I was already in a game. But then after a week before the application's closing, she was like, I still need another person, and it's like, okay, I'll apply. And so
that's good. What was your initial thoughts on the first session, and what are your thoughts now going into probably several weeks of campaign already?
Initial reaction, I was nervous and excited to try out a new character and get used to the whole feel of everything, including Roll20, which I still have issues with.
Yep.
Yep.
We're all like, yep, fucking Roll20.
Okay, cool.
No, you're not the only one.
But it was exciting. It was cool to listen to everybody's player description, figure out who we're all playing. The continuous yet subtle threats of how hard this campaign can actually be. Always keeping us on our toes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. I mean, sure, subtle. That's what Strahd is. Subtle.
No, the first thing, Death House. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Especially because is it your first game, right? Your first real experience with D&D?
Aside from homebrew campaigns,
and you're thrown into Death House. I feel ya. What about now though? After the Death House and all that, the beginning. How's it turning out now? How you feeling it?
Oh, it's super fun. I love it.
That's so good. Oh.
All of our characters are having such cool, interesting dynamic and conversation, things like that, and everybody's starting to actually really build up their characters, and I just love that sort of stuff.
All the interactions, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. What about you, Keplyn? What was your first initial thoughts, and how has that changed to get to this point?
Well, I find it interesting. Without really talking to one another, we all ended up picking a different class and a different character type. There was no discussion that I know between everybody, but we all came to the pre-session, and we all wanted to be a different class and race.
Oh, interesting.
So if you haven't noticed, there's not two humans. The elves are all different.
Right.
There's a dragonborn. There's a tabaxi. We're all completely different,
and
without any.
That's pretty
planning.
rare. That's a good point. That is pretty rare because there's usually at least some overlap between characters, especially when you're starting a new campaign.
So we were thinking of, well, maybe we could, these two people, for example, are gnomes, so they're, cousins or something. But it couldn't really happen because we're all such different.
Right.
Yeah, wouldn't the closest kind of be yours and mine, right? Kind of the elven backgrounds, but
That's the closest
high
thing.
elf and
That's
drow.
as far as it
Like,
goes.
they-
That's okay. The moment you said high elf and drow, I'm like, wait a minute, not even close. Probably not
Yeah.
gonna happen unless it's
We
like
have the
you're-
ears,
yeah,
and that's
like,
about it.
you're like the black sheep, like you're like half high elf, half high, like half high elf, half drow, and you're like the black sheep, and they're like, get the fuck out of our family. Like something like that could possibly work, but not likely. Not likely in Strahd.
No, and my character is pretty cool with like drow, but it definitely for background purposes wouldn't really get along. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the role playing that we're getting to do. The more our characters get to know each other, and the more we play together. So it always takes a little bit of time, but I'm liking that it's not taking as much time as it could have.
I'd like to ask you, based off that, where do you draw your inspiration for your characters? Like, how did you guys come about the character creation for this round? Was it like just something that was in your head? Were you pulling from fiction or stories or tropes?
Well, I usually, for Illyria, my character, I based it off of a book character that I read about, and otherwise I come up with like different unusual characters. One character I created for my other original game was a wizard that had been a mercenary, so it was like a wizard with a soldier background instead of with like a knowledge background. So I want to be a wizard, but what's something different I could do? So different things like that, trying to make it interesting.
Like looking for like a uniqueness factor on top of like a default setting type thing.
Right.
Gotcha.
But something that's also believable and, not too out of the ordinary. Something that might actually happen.
That's fair. What about you, Para?
I'd always wanted to play a serious character, I guess. Like, more serious. The other characters that I've played, one is just very brash Goliath, and the other one is this very sassy half. And so I don't know, I wanted to try playing someone more reserved and serious. And going into this knowing that it was Curse of Strahd, but Sarah had said, like, distinctively that she doesn't want any pure evil characters. I was like, well, okay, but I kind of wanna. So...
but I kind of wanna.
So I mean, backstory-wise, I made it work. But she still has some of the drow tendencies. She's very cold and blunt at times.
I just gotta say is like drow are like, we'll get to this in a minute. I'll let you finish, but like drow, I love them so much. They're my favorite race in D&D, and the fact that you chose that like for your serious character. I mean, I know it's the stereotype, but it's a good one. I don't know why. I just love it. It makes me so happy and warm inside.
I initially was going to try and be like the albino drow.
Ooh, oh, that's a really good idea.
But then I thought, like, I don't want to be like too
unique or different.
Too unique, because I don't want to end up like a sparkle dog sort of situation.
I gotcha. Yeah. That's fair.
So I mean,
I like that concept a lot. Like, there's definitely something you could do with that. Like, maybe like the albinoism like gives you some sort of like negative effect.
Because I know that it's usually reserved for more nobles in the society, and I was like, I don't really want to play that kind of character. So I mean, I just ended up doing.
I mean, that's fair.
Less over the top. I don't know.
I mean, drows are usually not generally over the top. Not generally. Not always.
Appearance wise, I guess.
Yeah. I had a question to like bounce off that. What was it? Oh yes. What are your guys' favorite race and class?
Oh no.
It doesn't have to be a character you're playing. It could just be like in general, like something like you gravitate towards or something you want to eventually play. It doesn't even have to be the same class and race combination. It could just be what's your favorite race? What's your favorite class? They don't have to go together.
Well, my favorite class is the Ranger, even though I've never played one. But I am partial to Rangers. And I don't know, I just like that they live in the woods and are sneaky and live off the land and that sort of thing. Or they can, depending on what kind of Ranger you're playing.
Yeah.
For race, I like Wizard. No, sorry, let me down. That's not right. I'm getting confused.
Confusion.
I like elves because they live a very long time, and so you can do different things with their perspective.
I agree.
In a one shot I ran, I had a NPC who was a elf, and she didn't care that there were bandits in her forest because they weren't causing anybody trouble. They were just stealing things. They weren't killing anybody. And she's like, that's fine. Like, they'll be gone in 50 years. And so the party was really upset with her that she was an elf. She's been there for 80 years already, and she didn't really care. So that sort of thing I find really interesting.
Yeah, that's a definitely interesting concept. It's like, yeah, that's like a blink in the eye for me. Like, sure, 50 years, no big deal. It's like 5 months, they'll be gone. Yeah, I like that. What about you, Para?
Oh, boy.
I know you haven't really played much, but like just in general, it could be the one you're playing now.
I mean, I was messing around growing like, some furbolgs and things like that, and I would like to play a furbolg. Like, big critical role inspirations, of course.
Kuma's so Clayton's so huggable.
I know. Or I've also been wanted to design a goblin. I know it's like semi-official, semi-not, but
yeah,
they're still fun to draw and design. Lad? I'm a big fan of like the barbarian / like berserker, just because like just so much strength and
I love
like
barbarians.
Pummel your enemies.
Yes,
it's fun.
It's so hardcore. It's so fun. You just like beat them up.
Yeah.
You can take all the hits, and you're like, that tickles. Take 12 points of damage. That tickles. Like.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so we kind of touched on this a little bit. I just want to confirm that, like, when you guys all started your character creation, you all realized that you're all playing very different characters, right? So was there any, like, pre-established relationships, like, forged before you guys started the game? Like, was there any, like, friendships that you guys decided on, or did you guys just kind of jump into it thinking we'll figure it out along the way?
I think we'd established like we were traveling on this boat that then crashed.
But there's no like shared backstory or anything like that. Not really.
No, not really.
Not that you're aware of, anyway.
Yeah,
No,
the closest. Sorry. Go.
I don't think it really came up. Although I did miss a part of that meeting. I was late, but I didn't realize the time zones and all of that. So
right.
But I don't think there was a huge discussion on it.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, that's fair. Going back to the first session, I know it's been a while, but what was the most exciting thing to see in the first session, if you guys remember? Is there a moment that stood out that was like, oh shit, or oh that's great, or?
I can't remember if this was in the first session or not.
I mean, it doesn't have to be in the first few sessions. I'll give you the first 2 or 3.
Within the death house, seeing the skeletons of dead children and being
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
oh,
Oh.
so that's how it's gonna be. Okay. Kind of set the tone for the rest of everything.
Yeah, seeing that child in the chest.
Child in the chest.
Or was it the blanket in the chest that had been stabbed?
Yeah.
In the room with all the covered furniture.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I saw that part. I know which room you're talking about because I was watching that, but I don't remember that blanket. Was it like a
Or
bloody?
was it or maybe it was the maid. There was a skeleton in the chest.
Oh,
I don't
yes,
remember who it was.
It was wrapped up and it had been stabbed.
I think it was like the nanny or the maid.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
So we discovered that one before we discovered the children.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. But it was a mixture of that sort of thing and then things like Rael falling down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
Or thinking about stealing all the cutlery in the dining room and fun things like that brightened it up. So, yeah, all of those were good.
What about just favorite memories or moments or like crazy moments that have happened since session 1? I know I haven't been watching, so I'm curious to see where you guys have gone.
Well, I have missed a couple. I'll have to think about that.
What about you, Farah?
One that's still kind of at the end of Death House, I guess. The whole moral debacle between our party of what to do with Winston, our now lovely dog.
Right. Yep.
Yes,
I was wondering when Winston was gonna come up. I was waiting for it.
Variant assaulting the shop owner. That was fun.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
I love these out of context quotes, like just assaulting the shopkeeper.
Yeah.
As you do in D&D.
He was pretty rude.
Yeah, a little bit. Seeing our first vampire, that was cool. Aside from like Strahd, but like the son in the church, that was super cool.
Yeah, the fun thing about that fight was we couldn't decide whether to kill him or not.
Oh.
And so we almost died because we couldn't decide whether or not to.
Because a certain human was trying to hug him.
Yeah.
Morals, I guess.
So most of the party had decided, but not everybody. So it made it a little more difficult.
That's
fun.
Interesting. That's funny when group dynamics kind of like shift and split like that. Especially was it a vampire? You said
it was a It was a vampire spawn.
I mean, vampire spawn need hugs too.
Well, they certainly got his hugs. He also killed most of the party.
Oh, damn.
Well, almost killed. Nobody died. So.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, that's usually
knock on wood.
I mean, it is Strahd. It is. I've heard things about it. I have never played Strahd, but I know that it's definitely like one of the harder campaigns to play in terms of just like mortality rate. But also I want to ask, save from your own, because like you obviously want your own to develop. What's one other character in the story you're most seeing development from, and why? What other party member are you interested right now? And you're like, what the fuck?
There's been some things that are going on with Stefan that I kind of want to hear more about.
Mm-hmm. With his memory and all of that.
Yeah.
I think Varian's going to be interesting as well to see where he goes with, his skin cloak and his mysterious lady that talks to him and all of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Ink was saying that, like, Varian, like, he's an asshole, but he's the group's asshole. Like, he's kind of lovable, but he's still an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Campaign talk. What scares you the most, and how would you feel about seeing that incorporated? What scares you the most going through this? Do you have fears about this campaign, or for your characters or other characters? What you might encounter or see or have to experience?
Well, I don't. If my character gets killed, that's fine. But as far as my character goes,
Sure,
she
yeah,
would
do
be
it
very
do it from her point of view.
upset if something happened to her ability to cast magic,
Ooh.
because that's basically all she can do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she has a quarterstaff, but she has a -1 to strength.
Oh.
So it's not going to do very much.
Yeah.
And she is doing this because she wants to, be as great as her sister. And so, having the knowledge that maybe she's not, or she fails in some way, would do a lot of damage to her as well, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Para? Anything you're scared of? Or scared that might happen, or worried about? Even, like, not even, like, out of character, in character?
Out of character, I'm really worried about my, like, character dying, because it just, it hurts. I want to hold on to every character that I make, because I make them, and then I draw them, and I'm like, oh, you're mine.
All the emotional investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already drew her face on a Twitter header that I'm going to be putting up, so she can't die. I think in character, Mara would not like staying here. If she got somehow trapped Barovia, that would probably be one of the worst outcomes.
Like stuck there forever type thing. Yeah. That'd be scary. These are kind of some superlatives that I want to ask. Aside, well, it could be your own. Who's most likely to drop to 0 HP the most often?
Probably the wizard.
Just for the wizard, or is that just purely because he's squishy, or is that because he does reckless things?
Well, my full answer would be the wizard or Rael, because Rael likes to do weird things. And the wizard, because recently we haven't had enough room for the wizard to be separate. So, like, when we were in the windmill, she was standing in the middle of everybody and got knocked down. So
things did happen the latest episode.
What was that? What happened last episode?
We may have had our wizard get knocked around a bit. No,
it wasn't there, so
a bit too many times.
A lot. Don't worry, you're all right.
As long as I'm still alive and they don't come back to a dead character or something.
So I would almost second it, just because, like, the squishiness so far, and we haven't gotten really used to a team formation or, like, protect the wizard yet. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I am curious. I know I kind of asked you guys about your inspirations for your character. I'm kind of curious how you go about creating characters. Like, is it always the same process? Like, because for Keplyn, you were saying you kind of took it from a book, like inspired from a book. Do you tend to do it that way? Like, tend to choose from outside fictional sources, or do you kind of also like pull from your, like, I guess, personal experiences as well when building a character with backstory and stuff like that?
Well, I think almost every character that I've made has a little bit of me inside of it. It makes it easier to roleplay and all of that. So, um, generally, I do start with a book character, and then I try to adapt it to D&D rules. And sometimes that doesn't quite work out, so I have to change it around a little bit. And I sometimes come up with somebody completely different and new, and then I have to come up with backstory for them that totally changed from my original idea. And sometimes it's even better.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, so I try not to make a character just for the stats. I try to make a character for the story because I prefer role playing than trying to make it really.
Yeah,
min-maxing.
Yeah.
Although it's fun to do that, but I do that once I get my character that I enjoy playing. So. Yeah, for me, it's all about the backstory and the character itself, not the stats or which background is better for which type of rogue or something
right.
like that.
Like that, like you did the soldier background for wizard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Para?
I mean, I'll say I'm guilty of like maxing first character ever that I made.
I mean, first characters tend to be that way.
Like the Goliath, I want to be big and strong. And that was about it. Now for inspiration, I mean, aside from all the streams that I watch, I don't know. I'll just pull up all the races and classes on D&D, and see what just kind of jumps out to me, or maybe I have like something that I've drawn a while ago.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, do you like go on Pinterest or like just do your own artwork and kind of be like, hey, I like this look. Let's figure out a way to make that character.
Yeah, kind of. I drawn like a zombie, and I was like, ooh, I want to make that into like a rogue character, and made that into like a rogue character. He's risen via a necromancer, and so now he has his own little backstory, blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Whatever jumps out.
Sorry. You guys, is this because Keplyn, you said your first game ever was Tomb of Annihilation?
Well, technically, my first game of Tomb of Annihilation was actually my second game of D&D ever, but
what was your first?
I stick with it as.
What was your first?
My very, very first was Roll20 in TeamSpeak, and we were started going through Tomb of Phandelver,
right? Yeah,
whatever it is. But we only got through that one session, but it was the same group of people, and a different DM took over, and we started playing a homebrew campaign after that. Okay. So, which I'm not a part of anymore because of drama. So, yeah.
Okay, what about you, Para? Have you done any other games aside from this one, like even just unofficially? Like one shot?
Yeah, I've done a couple different campaigns with friends. One was set in the Feywilds.
Ooh.
It was very fun. All of our characters woke up naked. So that was good.
That's typical Feywild for you. I freaking love that. I love that so much.
It's good to talk about. And then we have another couple campaigns. I don't know if we're going to be continuing them though, just because like schedules and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So right now this is kind of the only one that's continuously going for me, which is
active, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. Do you think you would see yourselves joining other campaigns, like even non-stream ones? If you had the time, would you expand on that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would.
I'm also curious because you mentioned drama. Do you guys have any stories, I mean, you can retract names and stuff, of not so healthy gameplay?
I mean, I was the culprit of good gameplay. I just got absolutely smashed during one of the campaigns.
This is what you not do.
Yeah, stop
Oh,
paying
dear.
attention, the whole 9 yards. I don't like. Yeah, it was pretty bad. So
Don't
needless to
drink
say,
in
don't-
D&D. They don't usually mix.
Oh, I don't do that anymore.
Probably a
have
good
a-
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have the odd like cooler or cider, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can say one, well, sort of mini story in my old game that wasn't the cause of me leaving, but still happened. One of the players we had, no, this was TeamSpeak, so we only had a voice. There wasn't any video
Right.
or Roll20 either. It was just, only TeamSpeak. And this one player would text the DM what they wanted to do instead of role playing. So they wouldn't really talk at all. And the DM would sort of voice over, this person is doing this person is doing that. And we kept trying to engage this person, thinking, well, maybe or they're feeling left out.
Or shy,
or shy. Like, we would go up to them in game and, hey, what are you doing? We're heading out to go shopping. Like, trying to engage them, and it wasn't working. So that's just weird. So we finally had to talk to the DM about it, and it got fixed, and they got a lot better. But it's like, what are you doing? This is, yeah.
Yeah. Have there been any other, like, really negative experiences for either of you in terms, like, even just, like, I've crossed this topic many times on Mystic Hour, like, women in D&D versus men in D&D, and, like, how, like, gatekeeping could be an issue, or rules lawyers, even. Has there ever been a point, like, in the games you've played that you've had, like, a really negative or even just minor annoyance that happened to you that you were like, this doesn't feel right? Or have you guys been lucky?
No, pretty lucky. Although that was one of the things that I was worried about when I was joining games that I didn't know anybody in. It's like, is this going to happen to me? Because I was like reading stories about things, and I was pretty lucky with the groups I ended up joining.
That's good.
They were pretty female friendly, but it was definitely a worry when I was looking to join a game.
Yeah, I mean same kind of feeling here. I was worried about that coming to Curse of Strahd because I didn't know who else was going to be on the team, things like that. But it's nice to see, like, not only like female male, but also like different gender identities in our like crew. So I'm like,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's interesting that like we all kind of have that apprehension, at least as female gamers usually do, like, oh, there is a possibility of something like that happening, but it's always like a pleasant and glorious surprise when it's smooth sailing and you don't even have to even worry about it. So
yeah,
for sure. Based off that, how have you felt? I don't know if you guys have played live games or online games. Like, have you found a huge difference in the discrepancies between, like, the TeamSpeak, like, audio only, audio and video, live games versus online games? Like, have you got a spectrum of that at all?
I've never played a live game.
Me neither. Well, not in a long time, but yeah.
I've never. Yeah. But it is much easier to read people's expressions and take turns speaking when you have video.
I agree.
That's one thing that happened a lot in our TeamSpeak only. It's like people would talk over each other because it was harder to determine who was going to go next.
What about you, Para? Have you had any sort of... Not really?
No, not really. Before I moved into part, I sat in a couple games with like an old roommate of mine, but I hadn't played. So that was basically as much experience that I had for sort of like a live game. But I agree, like Keplyn, that like it's nice to be able to see and hear everybody on these games, even though we'll still like talk over top of each other every once in a while. It's not as bad.
But it's just like easier to like read the body language on top of like just like tone helps obviously when you're just listening to audio, but like you can't see expressions or body like how they're holding themselves. I agree.
And it's fun to see people's reactions to like things.
It is always fun. I feel like it's safer and more fun just having both. That's my personal opinion. Like, I know some people are shy and don't want to be seen on camera, but I'm like, Dungeons and Dragons is initially a tabletop game that you play at a table with friends, so you're gonna be seen at the table. You're not invisible IRL. Like, you can't just cast invisibility and play D&D. You actually have to sit down at a table and play, generally. So with programs like Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds, I just feel like the video is kind of like an integral part of it. And I play audio only games, but I just find I enjoy the video more. It's like more immersive, I guess.
Yeah. And when I was looking on Roll20, I saw some games were advertised as text only. And I thought that would be terrible.
Text is,
even if you had voice to talk.
Right, I used to like do like the role-playing forums back in the day, back in the 90s. Like, you go into the forums and be a character. Like that's fine. Yeah. But to implement that for D&D feels like you're stretching it a bit. I don't know. I don't know if I don't think I can do that.
No, I never applied for any of those. It's like, D&D, I don't know about that.
Yeah, me neither. I wouldn't be a fan of that. What about you, Per? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, same thing with the role-playing forums, but I feel like it would just be a clusterfuck trying to get everybody to type in.
Right.
Like, is there supposed to be an order? What happens if someone wants to take something back and there's just like this wall of text?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like it would just be...
Like, retcon would be almost impossible.
Yeah. And you get a lot more interesting reactions and interactions with voice and video rather than text. You just kind of sit there behind the screen and read.
Yeah. Are you guys more role players, or do you prefer like the combat? Do you prefer the lore when it comes to D&D? Like, is there a certain pillar of the D&D system that you enjoy more than the other? Whether it be like the storytelling, character development, role playing, investigation, or what's the word? Not investigation. Exploration, lore, political, role playing. Like, out of all those pillars, is there one that you gravitate towards that you like in D&D? Like, out of your games?
Up till recently, I was really into the combat.
Oh, okay.
And not much else. But after making a couple different characters and wanting to kind of flesh out stories, I've gotten more into like the lore and exploration. It's like, I want to make the world seem more real, more expansive.
Yeah, like the world's like living and breathing as you're doing whatever the fuck you're doing. What about you, Keplyn? Which one do you usually gravitate towards? Or has it even changed? Has a question.
Well, I really like role-playing because I get to be someone I'm not.
Yeah.
And I think that's a draw for lots of D&D players.
Yeah.
But I do like a really good fight because I like strategizing, especially as somebody like a wizard. You have area effects, you have single effects. Like, you really have to plan out what you want to do instead of like a barbarian.
Figure out
who would just go up and hit somebody.
Yeah, that's true. Because barbarians, like, it's pretty basic because I play barbarians. It's very basic for them to just like hit 2 to 3 times depending on the level. Like, rage for a bonus action, hit, and that's it. Like, they're fine. Whereas
they're fine and they do major damage, which is great.
Yeah, you have to action economy for, like, bonus action, movement.
How long is this?
Is it concentration? Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
really
concentration.
Like
I already have a concentration spell up. Fuck.
Yeah, darn it. Yeah. So I like that as well. But a little bit of both. Yeah.
So you're a little bit between RP and combat, or tactical. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm more partial to RP myself. I mean, I could go, and we usually do, depending on the game, we can go months without a single combat, and I'd be fine with it. Like, I'm more interested in, like, encounters, like, political encounters where you have to talk your way out of something, or something like that. Like, that's more fun to me. And I also like the expanding lore and figuring out what's going on in the world while we're just fucking around. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm probably more partial to RP, to be honest. Combat's never really been my thing. Like, I've started to enjoy combat more, but only when I'm a tank. Because that's the most fun. Like, combat's the most fun when you're the tank. It's not. It's at least for me. It's harder for me to get enjoyment as a bard in combat. Bards are more fun for just, like, RP purposes and just, like, fucking around and doing deceptive stuff, being sneaky. Oh, that's a good question. Who do you think, going back to campaign talk for you guys, who do you think is most likely to secretly betray the party to join forces with Strahd?
Ooh, I don't know. First person that comes to mind would be Stefan, because never trust the quiet, innocent one.
It's always the quiet ones.
Oh, no. I mean, up till recently, I was going to say my own character.
Just, hey, now, that's stereotyping with the drow, though. I know. I mean, yeah, it could be your own character if you feel like that's a possibility, for sure. But then you're going to have to expand on that and tell me why.
If he could make a really good argument. If Strahd could make a really good argument, she's pretty logical when it comes down to it. So I don't know. Other than that, I'm not too sure. Depending on what happens with Varian, maybe Varian.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
A possibility.
Yep, I could see that actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And you said Stefan?
Yeah, because he's just so, innocent and naive about some things,
The most likely to be, like, corrupted or swayed because he thinks it's the good idea and then it's not.
Then it's too late, yeah, or something like that.
Have you guys gotten any, like, money, or have you guys been able to do any shopping yet?
You've tried?
You tried?
Well, I mean, most recent episode, I know you weren't there, but we sort of shopped.
Sort of shop?
There was some exchange of money and also some other things. That doesn't sound good. But
I did hear that you guys came across some magic beans.
Ooh, what?
we did get some magic beans. We took those from the chest. Did get some, like, potions and from a lady. I don't know really what she was.
I'm just kind of curious who you think would be, like, the highest spender, like the person to, like, splurge all their money.
Not my character, for sure.
Well, why wouldn't it be the wizard? The wizard needs to buy, like, spells and stuff, wouldn't they? Like components for, like, spell scrolling and stuff?
She has her staff is her component, so she.
Oh, interesting.
But she's very money conscious, so she would buy like a spell or something because she knew she needed it, but she wouldn't go out and spend excess of spells.
So, like, if she had all this money, she wouldn't just go spend it all in one place to get all the spells. She'd be like, no, I'm gonna conserve and kind of...
Yeah, save it up for the high level.
Interesting that you have a wizard that's money conscious. That's adorable.
Well, she's also a noble, which is shows she knows about money.
Interesting.
So yeah, she's very well dressed and has good stuff, but is also very money conscious.
Do you think Golly John would spend a lot of money?
He seems pretty interested in fashion, so maybe.
He has a top hat.
Yeah.
Just making himself look dapper as fuck. Just gotta get all the nice clothes.
Yeah.
Based on the intake of wine, variant, but...
Oh!
Yeah.
Shade.
Yeah.
Shade. Who do you think is the most likely to flirt with everything that has a heartbeat, like the party Casanova?
Oh boy.
I don't know if you really had a chance to. Nobody has a chance to yet.
Just based off,
been
like,
no people around.
level. Yeah, just based off surface level. Like, I know you guys haven't really... Like, you guys are still early into the campaign. But I'm kind of curious, like, just based off what you know about each character, who do you think you could see, like, oh, he'd flirt his way to get out of something, he'd flirt his way, or he or she would flirt their way to get something they want? It doesn't even have to be a genuine thing. It could just be just to get...
I'd have to say Varian if he was drunk.
I love how this is all going back to Varian.
Yep. I think he'd be the most likely.
I could see either Golly John or Amara trying to, like, at least do some sort of, like, scheming in order to get something.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a means to an end type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Stefan and Rael are too, like, naive and innocent for this world,
say,
so I don't think...
Definitely not Rael, because he's been in a monastery.
Right, yeah, right, yep.
He had to ask somebody what a girlfriend was.
Oh, that's so sad.
His first drink of wine.
Oh,
is,
baby, little baby boy.
Continuing
So
difficulties with funds and what money is. It's good.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Who do you think is who is most likely or is the MVP clutch party member at the 11th hour? So something's about to go down. Who's the party member most likely to pull a clutch move that's gonna turn the tide or save the day?
Amara, I think.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, that's my vote.
Maybe once I get, like, better at learning how combat actually works for a paladin. But, you know.
I mean, Smite, that'll do it.
Yep.
Smite'll do it. That's a good point. That's definitely a good sway point for sure.
And once we level up, I can get fireballs. So if nobody stands in the way, I can drop one on enemies. But it's a little while to come, I think.
Amara? It'll be you. Be the most clutch MVP at the 11th hour? You gonna own that one?
I mean,
no pressure.
I'll take it, but we'll see.
I'm counting on you.
God.
Or she'd be Strahd convinces her to join him, and then at the last minute she backstabs him. It's like, just kidding.
Double cross.
That works too.
Be fun.
We're gonna wrap up in a little bit here, but one of my last questions is, what is something you have learned from your D&D character or another D&D character, or just something in general you've learned while playing D&D that you appreciate the most?
Boy.
I know, it's kind of a loaded question. Something you learned from your character or another character? Or just D&D in general?
I think one of the most important things I've learned while playing D&D is it's not always, you're not always supposed to be the center of attention. Sometimes you have to let somebody else do that and just sit and watch them go, because then, it makes a better game for everybody. Even if you have to set them up for it,
right?
Because they've been quiet or they've not gotten any time to shine yet, and you have
sharing
to
the spotlight.
Yeah, pull them out and then push them and go have your moment. And you just need to realize that it's not always just because you're a player. It's not always your game.
Oh, I love that. Just because, it's not always your game. Yeah, for sure. Like compromising and sharing the spotlight in the moments that are happening in game.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Definitely team building.
Definitely, and or making the time to go have an interaction with a player that maybe hasn't had their moment in a while, or somebody has said something and they want you to ask about it, so then you go and ask them about it. Right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Oh. I guess like being more emotionally aware.
Right.
What about you, Para?
I mean, those are all really good points, and I need to do some of that too.
It's experience, I think.
Or even it could just be like moments that have happened in character that you're like, it made you look at things a different way.
I didn't know I could get so emotional just pretending to be a character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There was one time where I just started crying a little bit on stream, and I was like, hey, all right, let's not do this right now. It's, hearkening back to earlier, it's got me to be more confident with interacting with just other people and on this sort of platform, which is nice because I haven't done this sort of thing before, and hoping that it kind of springboards me into other stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like going back to what you're saying in terms of feeling so invested in this character that's not real, it's not really tangible, but it feels tangible in the moment. Like when you look back on your memories of D&D games, it feels real, you can remember it as if it was happening to you, but it's not. And I love that type of immersion and I guess method acting or whatever you want, or method ad-libbing, I don't know what you want to call it, but you're so emotionally invested in not just your character but the other characters around you that when something poignant happens or something staggering happens, it actually hits you for real. And it's interesting that D&D is kind of expanded that door for people. At least for me, I don't know if you guys have watched Storm King's Thunder, but this past Friday, we had a character death. And I was just openly sobbing because it's my character's best friend, and even though the person that played it is also one of my best friends, it's JJ, and he's not really dead. He didn't die. He's still here. But the fact that his character is dead in my character's arms, I'm seeing it. I don't see it, but I'm seeing it in my mind's eye, and I'm just how is this so? Why does it hurt so much? Ow! Stop!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that you guys, and I feel like those type of moments, and not just like character death, but just general RP moments in developing relationships in parties, is actually making you as the players closer as well. So it's definitely building bonds and friendships outside of the game.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't had, that kind of thing in Curse of Strahd, but we've definitely had that sort of thing in Tomb of Annihilation.
Yes.
There's been some pretty intense
yeah.
moments.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, even last game.
I've heard a few. Yep.
Our NPC froze to death. So,
yep.
That was just last game. We killed another NPC, sort of.
All the NPCs
we
just checking
him before he joined, and he still died. But, other, players leaving, there was player deaths. So, yeah. There were pretty intense moments there.
And that's a good point with also, like, the confidence building, because there's definitely going to be players that are a lot more outgoing than others. And it's finding that compromise between the really outgoing players and the not so outgoing players so that the quieter ones gain the confidence, kind of like springboard themselves forward, like you were saying before. I completely agree with that. Yeah, I feel like D&D is like a good tool for social building, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So found I do like dice.
Yeah, that's another thing. How many dice do you guys all own now?
Oh my god.
Quite a few sets,
yes.
yes.
Me too. Too many.
It's
a
an
problem.
issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a problem. It's an issue.
Just
I feel like I can ask maybe one more. It might get a little longer, but I feel like I can stretch it a little bit. We're still at like an hour and 10 minutes. I don't know if this is going to happen for Strahd, but I'm kind of curious where your thoughts are in terms of romance in D&D. Yay, nay, meh.
I mean, if it happens, like...
organically?
Yeah. Between the characters, go for it. Unless, like, the player...
is not comfortable? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all the other games that I've played with, like, friends, me and my wife's characters are always like, hey. And I'm like, alright, that's cool, because, like, it's my wife, so whatever.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, sure. Doesn't matter to me. As long as it happens like organically and everybody's alright with it.
Yeah, like it's not forced.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Keplyn? Thoughts?
This has happened to me, sort of.
Oh.
So, in the long-running game that I had, I was playing Wizard, and there was a Ranger, and the Ranger was being played as a very dark and troubled character, and my character was paying attention to him because she was worried about him, and nothing ever happened in game, but the Ranger started paying a lot of attention to my Wizard, and if I was late and we were having dinner, he would order me a plate and have it waiting for me when I got in, or stuff like that. And I didn't catch on at first, but out of game, the person running the Ranger told me, yeah, my character's in love with yours. Oh. I'm like, oh, okay. It didn't really go that any further in game, but at the level that it was in that game, I was perfectly fine with it. It was just,
adds another layer to like the relationship to the like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So any farther than that, I probably wouldn't have been comfortable with it in game. But at that level, it was good.
It's kind of like a sweet little like back of the head, like, oh, I know that's why he's doing it, even if in character she's not aware, but out of character, like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and then knowing that character has your back, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely.
Yeah.
I will say that. Not just in romance, but just in terms of building relationships, you feel like people always do have your back, regardless if you're in game or out of game. Like you build those stable bonds and kind of keep people together. And that's what
That's true.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
still friends with that person, even though that game isn't happening anymore. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's true for all of us on Proficiency Bonus, that we've all kind of gotten really close over the year and a half that we've been streaming, and we've kind of forged these friendships that have otherwise would have never have happened because we're all over the fucking place. Like,
yeah,
all three of us are in Canada, but so fucking far from each other. Like, there's no way any of us could have possibly have met otherwise outside of D&D and Roll20 and stuff like that. So I love it. I love it. Any last thoughts or funny stories or anything you guys want to bring up that you guys feel like sharing? Funny stories, positive stories, memorable moments, negative experiences, anything that you guys want to add? Could be from current game, past games, things you've seen. Or just any final thoughts, actually.
I don't know, man. I'm so tired right now.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm tired too. I feel you.
I will point out we did a Curse of Strahd one-shot that wasn't streamed.
Oh.
And a couple weeks back. And Rael was playing, and he managed to use his new weapon to pull a door off its hinges and use it as a battle weapon.
The door?
A door. So he sort of had his revenge on doors.
Oh, yeah. That's
Get
awesome.
out of here.
Yeah. He used it to defeat some wolves. Yeah, it was
Cursing
great.
doors.
Yep.
Pulling over from Critical Role, the truest enemy to ever be had is a door. So true. Well, I think we can wrap up now because I think we covered mostly everything. Actually, I'll ask one more thing, just because I think I asked the other group as well. What are your thoughts on Sarah? Like, first impressions? What was your first impression on Sarah? How you liking her game and her as a person, and just kind of like, do you remember what it was like first meeting her, Keplyn? Because I know you've known her longer.
Yeah. I think she's great as a person. Like, she's always bubbly and happy and or very, very emotional. She said she was pretty tore up after Friday's game.
Yep. We all were. Yep.
As a DM, I know she's still starting out, so there's something she could definitely improve on. Like, I've noticed some of her descriptions could use work, but as far as story-wise or, running a decent game, she's got that down pat.
Oh, that's great. What about you, Pear? Do you remember her first impression of Sarah?
Yeah, I rolled out of bed and I was like, hey, so this is me. I want to be on a game. I'm sorry that I'm probably going to stutter a lot. I'm anxious. And she's like, all right, that's all right. I'm anxious too. And I was like, okay, good.
Anxious
We're going to get along fine.
Yep. That sounds like Sarah. Yep.
Yeah.
I will say that I've noticed, even with the campaign that we've been doing, her as the DM, she's been getting more involved with character voices and things like that. And it's really fun to see, because I think that everybody else in the party is reacting pretty well to it and enjoying it. So that adds another layer.
Mm-hmm. And you guys all do your own voices, right? Like, you all have character voices.
I try. I'm not that great, but I try.
Keplyn, you switch it up between characters. Like, you change, versus, your Tomb character to this one. Like, you've definitely changed, personalities. Like, there's different noticeable differences from the few episodes I've watched from both campaigns, for sure.
Yeah, Tomb of Annihilation, much more serious, and gotta keep the party sane and together and not dying.
Play the mom role. Kids, that's enough.
More, happy and skippy and, having more fun. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's a good note to end on. I want to thank my guests, Pear and Keplyn. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get to this point. I'm sad Dave isn't here to get his insights on things. But maybe next time I will figure something out with him. Per usual, big thanks to dicebar.com, Vancouver-based dice company that sells dice sets and D&D merchandise. And if you enter the coupon code PROBO, PROBO, on checkout, you get a free expedited shipping to anywhere in the world. So thank you, sponsors. Thank you, Keplyn and Para. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. Hopefully, I'm not sure yet, hoping to do a Kingdom Hearts 3 Part 2, or Kingdom Hearts Part 2 episode, but we will see what happens. Yep, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week. Okay, love you, bye!
Bye.